Welcome to the School Photo Podcast, the show where we dive into the world of school photography, innovation, and the future of capturing school memories. With me, your host, Lee Brooker, and guests, in each episode we'll explore the latest trends, challenges, and breakthroughs in the school photo industry. With funny stories from our schools to best business practices and some new innovation to help us all. Whether you're a large multinational company, a sole photographer, or you're just passionate about the evolution of school photos, this podcast is for you. Grab a cuppa, settle in, and let's get started. This is the School Photo Podcast. Happy days. Right, welcome back to the School Photo Podcast. I'm your host, Lee, and today we've got a brilliant guest. We've got someone who's been in school photography for over 50 years, and he's seen the industry completely transform over the decades. From his father pioneering colour photography into school and leading the shift in digital photography in Spain, Andy Molloy has a fascinating journey. In this episode, we dive into the big industry changes, talk about the power of AI and why personality still trumps technology in getting that perfect school photo. Andy also shares some fantastic stories from the field, including how he gets the kids laughing, engaged, and looking straight at the camera in a way you definitely won't see coming. So without further ado, let's jump into the conversation with Andy Molloy. So welcome to today's episode. We've got Andy Molloy joining us. Andy, thanks for joining. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much, Lee, for having me on. And may I just say that I am very impressed with you from having met you at the conference just a few days ago and stating that you were thinking, I believe it was thinking of doing a podcast, to literally that same day getting it going, and then Harry on yesterday, like actually just acting and doing it immediately is super impressive. So yeah, well done you.
If I appreciate that, thank you. If I think about things too long, they don't happen, and it just ends up a window on the internet that's further back behind. So it's kind of I've got a bit of a weird thing where I'll get an idea and really run with it. But getting a bit of gravity early on, getting some great guests on early on is hopefully going to give it the cadence it needs to keep running through. So thanks for joining us, Andy. Tell us. Let's take me back to the beginning. Now, I don't really know any of your story, so I've got no head start here. So take us back to the beginning. Tell me where it all started for you in school photography.
Probably at about the age of 7, I think.
I did see 53 years you put, didn't you? 53 years or something that you've been in the industry.
54, so I mean, I could have said it started when I was born, because I mean, my father was a school photographer as well, so it's been in my life. I've grown up with it. And I guess the claim to fame that my father had, although I've lately realised that it's a joint claim with others as well, is that when he went into school photography, he was in the days of black and white. Then he went to visit a lab up in the Midlands area. I can't remember the name of the lab now, but they just had bought in this printer that could print colour, and he suggested, why don't you do colour photographs? So he went back and he went around the schools and introduced colour school photography.
Wow.
And basically took like a huge amount of schools in a very short time with his brother, because in his area, no one was doing it. And so that's where it all started for my dad. And I, at the age of 6 or 7, was doing what we have in England, which we're famous for, the mounts. My father...
I got you in packing.
Yeah, he was into his recycling. It was for him cost-cutting savings. So we would spend our Sundays getting all the returns, because it was sell and return, and emptying out the photographs and saving the mounts so he could use them again in other jobs.
Oh, fantastic. And I'm there with him. When we do sports events, I get my kids doing exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing all this time on.
Yeah.
So that was in the UK,
was it? Did your father
ever
pay you, though? I never got any money for it.
No, I don't pay him. I just let him eat. Yeah. Character building.
Yeah.
So you was from a young age you was involved in it, getting work in, and then how does the story go?
Well, I grew up. I went off traveling. Wasn't sure what I was going to do, and when I went away, I actually went and lived on a kibbutz in Israel for 6 months, just for the experience of living like with volunteers across the world. In those days, you could live on a
Okay.
kibbutz, and you could work there, and it was meeting people from
What's
all
a
over the world.
kibbutz? I've never heard
A
that.
kibbu- Well, a kibbutz is basically it's a form of socialism that they created
Okay.
out there. It's where everyone lives on a plot of land. They develop it. They had factories there. They had chickens, cows, cotton farming,
Wow.
everything. And as a volunteer, you could go from anywhere in the world. There were people from everywhere: Australia, South Africa. There were Norwegians, Swedish people there. You'd go and work, and basically you'd do 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, get paid enough for beer and cigarettes. You'd have your own
Okay.
bar, and the rest of the time it was just partying.
Fantastic.
Um, but it was out there when I was traveling around Israel that I developed a real like for taking photographs. It was a film in those days. And it was then when I thought, I'm going to go into photography. My father was there as well. So I just kind of merged in. I did pretty shit at school. I was a real rebel.
Okay.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no boundaries in my life. I was just quite wild, I guess. And it helped shape me a little bit. So went into school
Was school in the
photography.
UK?
Yeah, in the
You grew up
UK,
in the UK?
started off with nurseries, and then I got married, and I had a Spanish girlfriend. And by the time it came to having kids, she said, "I need to have them in Spain because I want to be close to my family." So with the seasonal work, I was okay. I can do that. I didn't have much at the time, and we went to Spain, and we saw how the market was there, which was still sale and return, which you
Okay.
mentioned about yesterday. You mentioned it as speculation packs or sale and
Yeah.
return.
Yes, how Harry.
And I saw in Spain what my father used to shoot and how the UK market was back in the 80s, 90s, beginning of the century. It was still sale and return. We transitioned over to the proof card system in the UK, and now it's
Yeah.
fully online. Like in the UK now, if you have a photographic business, school photography, and you're not online, you don't have a business. Not in school
Yeah.
photography. I believe that's correct anyway. So in Spain, they are still with packs.
Right.
So I try to see opportunities in everything, and for me, that's a huge opportunity. And I have a company in the UK, and
Okay.
I have set up a company in Spain, and with the backing of some people behind me, and I've got the NetLife platform as well. I'll mention that.
Of course.
We are working to transform the market out here, but not just for my company here as well. We want to, I mean, I want to help other photographers to improve the industry. I mean, that's one of the reasons behind the conference was to help. Like the idea is to share and communicate and not have a closed, fearful mindset. And in doing that, we can all help each other grow and improve our industry together. So in Spain, the idea that I have is that we're offering a toolkit to help
Okay.
automate, make more efficient the school photography that they currently have in Spain. And we're offering it to other photographers as well. There's some Harry mentioned yesterday, and it made me think like we've talked about the story of what happened in the Scandinavian countries because
Yeah.
they are ahead. They have been for a long time, and they had a cash-based system. One of the things that happened there to help make the move onto online was Harry mentioned about the small guys that came in, and they basically offered and found a way of competing by new technology. So it kind of planted seeds in my head as well. Is that may be a way forward in Spain to help transform it? It's a very fragmented market. There are challenges. It's cash based,
Okay.
so with that there are integral issues as well that need solutions to be found. Um, so yeah, that's basically where I am at the moment.
And is the Spanish market the customers? Are they just not as forward thinking with ordering online? Are we sort of a few years back in the UK where parents are a bit scared of ordering online still? Is that Spain?
I would say possibly, maybe.
Okay.
There is no online ordering practically not at a sufficient standard. I would say it's
Okay.
pretty much non-existent. It's basically one pack that you receive, you buy it or you don't. So there's cash. I mean,
Right.
you probably remember the
Yeah.
cash. You know, you put
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
money
Very
in
much
the
so.
envelope. Yeah, taking the schools.
Referred to as
Great
the glory
sale.
days, I believe.
Yeah, great sales. Yeah, actually at the conference, I met some of the old guys, and I've heard some amazing stories about the school
Yeah.
photography industry. I mean, my dad was in it as well, so I grew up with that. I just know that England has transitioned. Uh, the software that I use is in 28 countries, and
Okay.
I see it as an inevitability. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of representing Spain and also Portugal as well, and to help bring about that change. I see it as an inevitability and want to lead it and help
Yeah.
others
Right. So.
to grow as well in this market.
And so, how many schools have you got out in Spain? How many schools do you work with
Oh,
out there?
it's quite small at the moment. Um, But I'm on a plan at the moment. We just produced a video. I'll share that one of the challenges I found. I'd like your opinion on this. So it's okay expressing all the logic about a great idea
Yeah.
and services that you offer. However, I've learned that the decision making process of your brain comes from your emotional side. So it's got to feel right.
Yeah.
So you might have someone knocking on the door and giving you all the logic of we've got this new water meter that will do this, that, and the other, and it will measure you and it will reduce your costs and it will save you money. And you might say, it sounds really good. I really understand what you're saying, but it just doesn't feel right because they haven't
Mm.
got the feeling across. So
Okay.
there's an issue with Spain is very traditional. So when I've gone into schools, once I've got the schools and they have the experience of the like we've got I shoot and I have photographs on the same day in the UK with the
Okay.
software that I'm using, and then they have the web portal access for the schools which they can access and download the photographs they can upload into whatever system they're using. Once in Spain they've seen that, they are like, wow, this is friggin' amazing. I didn't know this existed. And they do not change back.
Okay.
However, they love it once they have the experience. So, how do you get that experience, that feeling across to them? And I found it challenging with just talking. So, that's why I produced a video.
Right.
So
Okay. That makes
video, it's a
sense. Yeah.
visual activate. It makes you feel of what's available. So that's only
Yeah.
recently gone out, and this year I really we're going to really push. I've got some guys that are involved as well. Some are really good photographers that have got a really good mindset that see the vision as well, and so
Okay.
we want to spread the word and spread to schools that this technology exists amongst
Okay.
like heads of schools and also parents so they're aware that they have the opportunity if they want to they can choose the products they want. It's personalized. We all know about online in the UK
Yeah.
how products are, you can personalize, you can choose what you want to. At the moment that doesn't exist, so that's what we're going to change
And
at
what's the
some.
barrier other than them not understanding it? Is it presumably you could plug your online system in and say to the school, give us the emails, this is how we're going to do it, if they understood it. Is that right? Is that the only real barrier?
Cash.
There's cash. Okay.
It's a barrier. I mean, we all know. I'll just state it. When some people get paid in cash, there are some
Okay.
financial advantages. I don't
Yeah.
need to say more.
No, no, yeah,
It's quite
understand.
clear. I mean, I'll state that my father, when he did a school in Farnborough, he would pay for the headmaster at the school his summer holidays with the
Yeah,
with his wife.
it
I mean,
makes
that
sense.
used to happen. That just doesn't exist in the UK, I believe. Everything is transparent, and I really like that. Um, Everything is clear. Transactions are clear, so it's not possible. It's working with markets to help transform that. So there's a huge amount of benefits as well in transferring it across to an online platform, not just for photographers, but for schools, for governments as well. So
Parents as well, yeah.
Harry, Yeah, Harry even mentioned yesterday. I remember, I believe it was Finland that they were cash based. Magnus in the conference when they started, they were cash based. The industry, and in Finland, I believe they introduced a law one day that cash was no longer allowed in schools.
Right.
So overnight, the market had to transform. And school
Wow.
photography, of course, went from being a cash-based economy market to immediately online.
Yeah.
So that would be an amazing thing to happen, for example, in other countries.
Yeah, very much that. And
South Africa,
when you book schools, when you go to get a new school, is it a case, what's the normal process over in Spain? Is it similar to the UK where you
yeah,
can go and knock on the door and speak to the secretary?
yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
very similar. I mean, there's elements. I guess how do you do it? I mean, cold calling, emails,
Yeah.
follow up emails, follow up cold calling. Well, it wouldn't be called cold calling the second time, I guess. Visiting. It's for me. I correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe now, especially in the UK, it's a lot more about building a relationship, building loyalty,
Yeah.
building trust, being very communicative. There are schools have different filters to what they prioritize in their school photography. I'd say
Very
it's
much so.
pretty similar in the Spanish market. We're all human. We all
Yeah, and
think.
we've got schools that when we look at and say, well, what's the reason? What is the purpose that they've booked? Have they seen something that we offer and that's triggered them? Or is it based on price? You know, we will have schools on opposite sides of the street. One will say, I want your cheapest prices. I don't care about any commission. Maybe we'll get to that later, but I don't care about any commission. I just want the cheapest prices for my parents. And there's other schools saying, we only have photographers in because we use it as an income generator for the school, because it goes into the school's private funds that gets used for swimming lessons, whatever it might be. So the schools have all got a slightly different reasoning for accepting the photographer in. And I think so. I've got a full time sales director. He's outstanding, and his whole job every day is walking, not driving around, knocking on schools, introducing us as a brand, finding out where they've got a need, and using his skills to then package something up that works for that school.
Hmm.
Now, companies that don't have the facilities for a full-time sales guy, that was where I was when I was a couple of years in, was going, I haven't got the time to do the follow-up. So where you talk about the extra stuff, looking at it now, you could potentially do that with automated systems using HubSpot or one of the CRM systems, but it was all pad and paper and remembering when to go back and speak to Brenda. Um, so that's where having a full-time sales guy going around and finding out the opportunities is brilliant from our point of view. Um,
May I ask you a question? What
Please.
do you feel has been your biggest mistake in the way that you tried to gain schools, and how did you learn from that? I mean, if you learn from it, it doesn't become a mistake. It's a learning.
No, true. So we've never had a huge amount of success from cold calling and cold emailing. So that was where the investment in a great person for me a couple of years in was priceless. It was expensive and it is expensive, but the greater gain and the greater good is fantastic. It allows us to build a good team. It allows us to build a real trust with the schools. He can make promises that he knows that we'll deliver on. So it's not
Mm.
that we are writing an email and saying, I hope that you see this. So for me, the probably, I don't know if it's mistakes much or just something that we don't have success with is if we just ping out a cold email campaign or we have someone on the phone saying, can you come for a meeting? Now that might be if we had a better person on the phone than myself or someone that we've used in the past, that might have a better turnaround. But just having a consistent face going in each term, friendly, smiley, not pushy, that seems to be the best way that we've found to attract new schools, as well as having different products, different offerings, different things. You know, we saw last week there's a few the portrait truck and a few different things that we
Mm.
can try and open conversation with, because as soon as they walk in and they see school photographer, guard comes up, doesn't it? You know, they're like, oh, go away. I've got a kid with a cut knee and I don't. I don't want to talk to you about it. But yeah, that would be my suggestion of having great people that do it.
Yeah, like just to segue into your truck, I thought that was a really good idea. Like I sometimes think my father had it so easy. You literally go to a school with a product like black and white to color photos, and that was
Yeah,
like, wow, we want this. And it was just so easy for him to get schools. He went from nothing to like 250 schools in a year or something like that, just over. Like he just blitzed it.
yeah.
How
Time and place, isn't it?
yeah, like how I've often thought, is there anything that could come in the future that can have that sort of transformation that someone might have the vision to see? Like something
Well,
like
we
that.
all,
I mean, you talked about AI yesterday, which will help. It's going to really help the industry, and
yeah,
it was quite surprising as well in the conference to see uh, that there were quite a few people that didn't use AI like ChatGPT, and I love to hear the
yeah,
conversation yesterday about how you can use it's so available for everyone.
really
You know,
is. Yeah.
what is coming in the future to help improve our market, or is there anything out there that we may not be aware of in now that is going to transform where we are?
Oh, well, yeah, it's the golden question, isn't it? I mean, we're working on a few things. We've got a few sort of ideas that we're working on, but there are. I know that for me, the truck's been great. It's been a good conversation starter. It's been a good solution. It's been
Hmm?
something that's very good. Um, but schools have got an expectation as to what school photography is, haven't they? I think it was Pret a Portrait that came in with the stitched white groups years ago, at the same time as Venture
I thought it was
Portraits.
portrait. I thought it's Ward Henry. Okay.
I may be wrong there. I was under the
Yeah,
impression it was
I'm not
Pret,
sure either.
but some, yeah, it may be. They were both in it early on, both very early adopters of it, and then everyone else has followed, haven't they?
That's only
So I
recently
think
taken off in Spain.
that's it. And
Like,
it's
yeah,
sunny out in Spain, isn't it?
everything that you see in England and other countries, then it shifts across. Many
Right,
aspects come from the States. 5 years later, the UK, and then 5 years after that, it spreads into Europe
spreads
in
into
many
Spain.
aspects. Yes, you can see the future of other markets by where you are, or other markets by just looking at ones that are ahead.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're absolutely right with that. So I think the schools have got an expectation of what school photography day looks like based off, and it sounds exactly that you're having that with Spain with how they order, that
Yeah,
they expect it to be a certain way, and they expect that autumn term is siblings and individuals. Historically, they've always chosen the background that the photographer brings. They'll say, bring your blue sky or bring a white. Our parents don't like this or they do like that. Um, we've added our in-class portraits in the spring term, which have been brilliant, and it really has plugged a hole
mm,
on that quiet, dead money coming in. So that's been a nice thing. The schools have enjoyed that as well. But I don't know as we sit today quite what the magic black and white to colour that scale is. I don't know. I think there's more people in the industry now. There's, I mean, there's not a massive barrier to entry for anyone to become a school photographer.
how do you find that could affect the impact of the quality of? Do you question that?
I think it will level itself out. I think that a bit of natural selection comes through. What conversation I have an awful lot is that you've got a wedding photographer who wants to subsidise income, but this is a one person wedding photographer who spends all of his time the following week editing the wedding, any blemishes, any corrections, making sure that there's not a bin in the background, whatever it might be. Um, so they're the ones that I've worked with, they're very much used to spending a lot of time post shoot to correct things. Whereas you'll know yourself that when we're doing volume in schools, we don't necessarily get that luxury unless we really want to pay someone else to do it or swallow up all of our evenings.
Yeah,
So I think what often happens is when people come into the industry new, they want everything to be perfect because they weren't happy that a bit of hair was out of place on their child's picture, or they've seen mum's net, or they've seen Facebook and someone said, oh, this school picture's not lit perfectly. I can do better with my phone. So then they come in and they want to run with quality. I can do better because if I've got 20 minutes in the studio, I will do better. And I think it's a bit of a steep learning curve of saying, actually, you've got 15 minutes for 30 kids who are crying
mm,
and screaming and shouting. Um, so I don't I don't fear that it's going to have any negative impact on the industry. I think that
I'm sure.
it will naturally play itself out because it's so much more than just what that one button click is. There's so much more to the job, to the role.
Yeah. I always remember my father, he used to like sometimes get, I used to call him Tom Froth actually because he had a real temper on him. But he used to, when he'd lose a school sometimes, back in the old days, he would say, "Oh, freaking hell, bloody photographer, he's come in. He's offered bloody 35% commission. That's ridiculous. How can he operate with that?" And he'd lose a school over the commission.
Right.
So there's always that danger. We always talk about the commission, and it's been a subject in the conference as well about how now schools aren't doing what they used to do before. There's no
No.
admin,
No.
and but that's one of the maybe challenges of new people coming in because you want to gain business, and if a school prioritizes money and you offer a lot more, they may well go to you. But
Yep.
then at the same time, you have the new people going in, and it's been the startups that have embraced new technology, and that helps shift and improves the sector as well. Because some of the big guys, I always see like big guys as like oil tankers. So
Yes.
if you try to change the direction of an oil tanker, it's going to take you friggin' a long time. But you've got someone that's new on a speedboat and they want to change direction, they just flip the wheel and they're gone. So
100%.
in that aspect, new people that come in can pick up on new technology. They're tech whiz kids. They embrace AI. They embrace more efficient methods, and that as well can help improve everyone. So
Yeah, I
I think
fully
it's
agree
really
with that.
important to listen to everyone in this sector as well, and but also just say to them, look, don't give too much commission because you screw it for everyone else, and at long
Yeah.
term, you're screwing it for yourself as well.
100%. 100%. And I think that I mean we had a situation yesterday that there was a school that would have been due £600 commission for the previous school year, which is quite high. That's a lot more than I'd ever want to pay. But we suggested to the school, we offered them, we said, look, would you like £800 worth of marketing products rather than £600 commission? And they were over the moon with that. So our guys gone in and they've done a proposal and done a walkthrough, and we ended up selling more product to that school. And there was £1,400 profit on top of that project after they had their £800 gift, which is obviously retail value at £800. So cost to us is lower than that would have been anyway, as well
Yeah.
as building more of a relationship and upselling products into the school off the back of just being a bit creative with going, well, I don't want to give you £600.
I think that's a
Um,
really, I love that mindset because I love the people that work in life that have a mindset of win-win. So you turn that around for as a win-win situation where you didn't just like you're not just taking, you're actually giving back. But
100%.
by
Yeah.
doing both, everyone comes away winning from it. And I think that's a really good thing for everyone, like in our industry, in personal relationships, whatever, in life,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
not just take, but you need to give back because within giving back, you actually grow yourself as well. And it's part of feeling good about what you do.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. And now I think that when we, it's not just a case of giving back for the sake of it. There is always a mutual gain. There is, and we're honest with all of our schools. We're like, look, we could do this, or we could give you this, which you would have to pay for elsewhere. And
Hmm.
and we find that when I mean, school business managers now are not what they used to be back in the day when they were just running a school and doing registers and putting plasters on knees. These are now commercial people that fully understand what they want and how to get the best out of everything that they do for the school. Um, so when we're completely transparent with them and say we could give you this, and then we could give you a quote for everything else, or actually you can get more product because our costs are lower. Um, it it's something that works really well when it's transparent. I think it's when
Yeah.
schools think that you're fobbing them off. That's when it gets.
That that's really important. It's really important to have the communication and express the motive behind doing it. And at the same time, you're going to gain from it as a business, but you are a business and that's perfectly acceptable. However, you are giving back because you can give products that are going to
Yep.
benefit them. as well. So that's exactly what you're saying. It's a win-win situation.
And making sure we've got a transparent price list that shows them a not perceived value, but an actual value that they could phone another school could phone us up and they could ask for that product and it would legitimately cost them X, Y, Z. We quite often do it where we'll offer a free marketing photo shoot or a morning of marketing photo shoot for their updated website, for school life boards, that sort of thing. Now, for me, if we've got full-time staff that are working for us and they're not out on a job, we've got two options. They're either in the office doing admin tasks or they've got the day where we give them a rest day if need be, or they can go in and upskill and do their work bit and spend time in there doing website photographs. But from the school's point of view, that morning would have cost them £550 if they've gone online and done it. But actually, just being able to transfer value from one area to another we've had a lot of wins with that and continue to get that.
Yeah, I think it's a good way of winning schools
Mm.
too.
And
Like
keeping
all,
schools. I mean,
yes, and
ultimately,
keeping schools. Yeah,
the retention is more important than the new bookings by a
yeah,
long, long way.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
we'll find it will cost us a lot more to book a new school than it does to retain and keep. And the same with staff. You know, if we've got great staff, we want to make sure that they are reimbursed fairly and properly. Um, you don't want to lose someone for the sake of £1,000 to go somewhere else because by the time you've done your interview process, your onboarding, you don't know what you're getting. I mean, sometimes you might want to lose them, um, but yeah, I think that retention is really key.
Hmm. How important, we discussed this in the conference. Do you mind if I, like,
Carry
that's
on,
one
carry on.
example. Yeah, like segueing over to the role of the photographer in the school. How important, because we discussed that in the conference, like how much importance do you think we give to the actual photographer? Because what we talked about in the conference was we have it's very easy now with the digital age. It's literally all you need really is someone to just go in there and click their finger. But is that enough? Like in the days of film, we had the photographer that did everything, and it was really important. Uh, has that been lost a little bit? And do we need to really recognize that the role of photographer? I mean, they are the reference to you as a company in the school.
Yeah,
So from that, to be able to train them well, to have consistency within your company, um, because that is what will sell the photographs at the end.
yeah, absolutely essential. I think you've hit the nail right on the head there. In that there is a scale and there is a market that people are employing people to press a button and they're trained in a week and they're sent out on the road. And you know the story that you shared, I'd love if you could share the story again about how you with the water situation and the Mr. Potato Head. I absolutely love that bit. Um, but you will stand out head and shoulders above 95% of other photographers for having that bit of personality away from being behind the camera. The bit
Mm,
behind the camera is the easy bit. Nothing
mm,
changes. Studio lights, settings are fixed. Particularly softwares now that control settings. That bit is so simple once it's set. The bit you cannot. I don't know if you can teach it. I don't know if you can teach. I got a feeling with you when we met last week. The way that you work and the way that you come across, I don't think you can teach that. I think that's something that is learned through years and years and scars of saying something that didn't work, but then saying something that did work. And going, that's where I'm at. I'm gonna get them to look. I mean, do you mind sharing your little story about the water thing?
no, not at all. And I'd say, yeah, I'd say it definitely takes a certain type of character. So I thought about it, and you're right. It did come to me like there was one guy I remember at school. He was the caretaker, and
Okay.
he used to do magic tricks for the kids. So he gave me this magic rope that, when you put it in a straight line, would float like horizontal
Okay.
like that. And he said, "Have it, use it with the kids." And I thought, okay, because prior to that, I was like, say 66, say cheese, and all this stuff. Look at the rabbit in the camera or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was always the kids that weren't looking at the camera, like in the group photographs, and it was a right pain in the arse.
I bet.
So what I was doing in that point, I was instructing kids on what to do to take the photograph. Look at the camera, 1, 2, 3, look at the camera, instructing.
Okay.
I had a mindset shift. It was a very simple one. I changed it to like engaging the kids so that they wanted to look. So one day, like thoughts just pop into my head when I'm on a job, and I just go with them because it's the one time I let the kid out in me.
Love it.
So I had them all lined up in the class groups, like hands on your like feet together, knees together. We all know that stuff. And I just looked at them seriously and I said, I have a question for you. And I just said, do you want me to pour water over my head? I had a bottle of water in my hand. And they all looked at me like, yeah, I want you to pour water over your head. So I went, okay, I'll pour water over my head. So I went back to the camera and I said, okay, tell me to take the lid off. And they say, take the lid off. And I put the bottle above my head and I just get them to say, pour the water. So I've got the water bottle and most of the time I actually get pretty drenched and I pour it, but I really enjoy doing it as well. And all the children, everyone is looking at the camera because they can't wait to see me pouring
Yeah.
water over my head. I don't have anyone. I mean, I take a few shots, then I do like a hug shot. I always do that as well. I just
Okay.
say, show me the love, guys, or something. I
Okay.
am a little bit like, I really enjoy it. I get into it. I have fun. And I think that's transmitted as well. But the point is that they want to see me doing this. So they are looking at the camera and they're not even blinking. So
Right.
in every school that I do the class groups, they're always looking. There's no blinks and it's really easy to edit. I mean, it's so
Yeah, of
easy.
course.
So I save myself by just allowing myself to be a kid, which I'm a mature man, but I'm also got a great big kid in me, and he's allowed out at schools. And so,
Love
and
it.
I love that about me, and I love that about the kids that you can interact with them. And so that's how I got. That's how I do my class groups. And so I've got a photographer, Kevin, who is called Mr. Waterhead. He does it.
Love it.
Another one called Steve, who's Mr. Dazzle. So we try to
Okay.
create like an experience in the school. And I try to create like in the individuals a storytelling experience. So
Okay.
it's another ridiculous thing. So I don't know where the name of Mr. Potato Head. I think one day what some kid asked me my name just popped in my head. I'm Mr. Potato Head. And so it's just stuck. So like the story I told at the conference, which is pretty, I feel a bit like vulnerable saying it, but I'll just say it anyway. Is like I say to the kids, I try to tell them the story as they come down. You know,
Yeah.
and I know many kids come down really nervous. They are focused on having a photograph. How do I smile? What do I have to do?
Yeah.
And
Mum
and
said
that
this.
it's not easy sometimes. Some of them are really great. They don't worry. But there's that focus. I'm having my photograph taken. I need to smile, and then you'll have say silly sausages or smile, and yeah, it
Yeah.
can work for some, but it doesn't always. And quite often, you notice the cheesy, like
Yes.
forced
Yep.
smiles. So I do a story, especially with the younger ones, like, do you know what happened to me this morning? I was on my way to school and all these cars started beeping me. And as I wound down my window, they were saying, Mr. Potato Head, why have you got a hamburger on your head driving to school? And I'd say to them, I want to say to them, I don't have a hamburger on my head. And then I'd look at the kids and I mean, it's just a silly top of my head, whatever
Yeah.
comes out. Do I have a hamburger on my head? And they'd say, if it doesn't matter if you get a yes or no,
Of course
but
it
one
doesn't.
of
Yeah.
them will say, yeah, I can see it, it's there. And that's it. So that I've got them all thinking about something absolutely ridiculous that they actually want to believe in because they're kids, just because they believe in
Yeah. Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
They're coming through and they're already smiling because they want to tell me what color it is. It's moldy and I've got to eat it. And they are, as they are there, I'm already taking pictures because I've got them
Yep.
smiling.
And they're
So
building the
it's
story, aren't they?
yeah, they're in the story. They're not even thinking about their photographs. And if there's one that's a little bit nervous, I've noticed as well, kids that are nervous generally don't like attention on them. So don't
No.
give them any attention. Quite often, you remember, you'll know this, you'll get teachers that will say, it's all right, smile, nothing's going to happen. And that's, for me, is the
Yeah.
last thing. I
That's bad.
just ignore the kid and I say, let's just ignore the kid. I go to the ones that are waiting and I start saying, can you, whatever the story is in my head, and I'll get them to interact with me. The kid that's waiting then knows that the tension's not on him, hears something funny about what we're saying about another kid, and that's it. They've looked up, they might be smiling, spin the
Yeah.
camera back, bang, shot done. He's done. Thanks so much. And high five and praise them, like, super
Yeah.
job, you were amazing. Off they go. And what I've realized is that that's for me, and yeah, you're right, you have to have a certain character to do it, is a way of getting through photographs, getting really, I believe, really good smiles, natural smiles, having fun at the same time, and bang, they're done.
I think it's not just the final
What I
picture that
just
comes
said.
out. I think it's
Yeah,
not just the final photograph that comes out that is the win. I mean, you clearly love the job and love the day, the
I
time
do.
you spend there, and I'm exactly the same as that. Is that I get a real win from a child who they say he's never had his picture done. He doesn't want it done. She doesn't want it done. Um, and I'll often get them to come and help me. Let them have a go with the camera. Let them hold the camera. Let them press a button and trigger a light.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, so if I've got a line of children that don't, and there's that one that doesn't want the attention, I'll often say, look, do you want to come and help me stand behind the camera? Because they're instantly safe at that point. They're not going to be photographed there.
That's a good point.
Um,
Safety. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, so I'll get him in. We'll have a chat. We'll make sure that I'll find out their name, and we'll often find that making a real positive impact before you're even thinking about taking any pictures. And this is where the years of experience comes into that you and I probably take for granted a little bit of being able to look down the line and find the kid that you can have a joke with that won't get upset about it.
Yeah.
That find that kid that there's always a real confident kid that you can say have a little bit of a joke about their haircut or about whatever it might be. And I'll always make a thing of if the girls have got super lovely long hair, I'll make a joke about could I borrow some, and like they love it. The kids just straight away land on it. Um, but being able to spend time with those ones that don't want the pictures done and converting them for me is a massive win. It doesn't matter if they sell. I don't care if they sell. If that child goes home positive, and from the back of that, the teachers they go into the staff room and they talk about what we've done.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you'll know that your teachers will go into a staff room and they will go, "Did you do the water thing? Yeah, he did the water thing," and they'll love it.
Water thing.
One
Yeah.
big thing that we used to have was that people would get nervous about playing that role in front of other adults. And I was probably the same as that years ago, of going, oh, I don't want to say something silly, I
Everyone
don't want to
would
be
think of
silly.
me.
But when you get to the understanding that every head teacher wants to see you get down to that 4-year-old's level, but then come back up and have a conversation about a £15,000 visual marketing project with him, once they realise that you've got that awareness, you've won.
That's a really good point because I've in training like photographers that I've had, asking them to pour water over their head is horrifying, or like asking them to do some of the things that can work with kids is just so far out of their comfort zone that
Yeah.
it's extremely uncomfortable for them, and I get it. However, it can work, and I've seen photographers in the end embracing that and having fun doing it. And yeah, it can be really tough. And just to go back to what you were saying about having fun with the kids in the line, like as a person, I think it's really important. Like first of all, you got to like yourself, but also you've got to know that you can take the mickey out of yourself, that you can
100%.
become the joke, and you've got to
Yeah.
be okay with that. So like in the line when I'm at the schools, I make myself the joke. Like I'm Mr.
Yes.
Potato Head. I get the attention of them, so like they can make the joke on me, and I'm fine with that because it works and it's
Yeah.
banter.
100%. Yeah.
So it's a way of communicating, connecting up with kids, engaging with kids instead of just it's instead of just instructing them.
Yeah. And we've all seen that, haven't we? We've all seen photographers that are under a bit of pressure. They've got a line. The noise is up in the hall, and it's right. Come in,
Oh
sit down.
yeah,
I've been told that I've got to do this, and I don't know. I don't know if we take for granted owning the business that we can do what we want. My wife said something to me. She said, "Well, when people come out with you, they're going to be nervous. You're their boss and decide whether they keep their job or not." I was like, "But we don't make it like that. You said, I don't think you get it. I don't think you see it from the point of view of an early 20s new career photographer, loads to think about, trying to make the best impression. She said, you can just be an idiot if you have to. It doesn't matter. You don't mind. But when people have got that other level of potential pressure, as much as we make it as easy as we can, we have to kind of understand that they're going to be trying to do the right thing, which is actually sometimes counterproductive.
What a great insight from your wife. She sounds really good. I would. That's great because one thing we talk about as well in the conferences we do is that a lot of companies have. It was spoken about yesterday. A lot of companies have always done things because that's the way they've always done it. So this is the right way to do it. And the mindset is it's not a growth mindset. I think you discussed that as well yesterday.
Yeah.
So in terms of like having a team where you're able, because I think a big lesson for me has to learn that I'm not right. There's always a maybe. I have my beliefs and I have what I believe might be right, but I always leave the option of listening and understanding that I might not be right in what I'm saying. And so when you have a team, like for example, your wife there that pointed that out, that might have been a blind spot for you that you hadn't thought about. I
Yeah.
don't know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but absolutely great to have that. And if you're able to hear that and have an awareness that other people can see things that you might not see, that's how you
Mm.
can grow.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
Yeah. It's hugely important. Hugely important. And I think that being able, when you see it from that side and go actually put myself in a position of a 22-year-old female photographer that's just recently got a new job. It's her first proper job with company
Mm.
car and really doesn't want to do it wrong. And we're meeting at 6 in the morning to go to a school, and I've said, look, it's a brand new school, we've got to make a good impression.
Mm.
I don't necessarily always think about the gravity that them words have,
Mm.
going, oh, shit, I've got to get everything right. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a couple of things in what you're saying there. One is to be able to learn to listen and to have empathy, like not sympathy, but empathy, to actually try to feel how your other photographer is feeling in that moment. And
yeah.
if I may share just one experience
Yeah,
I
please do.
had
Yeah.
where it was a learning for me. Like I did one school. It was in southern Spain with a new photographer that came in that day, and we started the day off. And I went in and did my thing, and I overwhelmed her. It
Okay.
was new to her, and so it was a real lesson for me to learn that. I'm not quite sure where I'm going here on this, but she found it very difficult to start because she saw someone who was pretty natural at what they do. And like it was almost like she felt an expectation to go straight into that. It was wrong of me to do that. Um, and I think we need to think carefully about how we train our photographers. I think it's really important to develop methods where we keep them motivated, where they want to work for us, where we also don't go in and criticize the work we do, but we try and look for the things that they have done well, and then the things that they need to improve on. Not say, for example, you fucking, can I swear?
Yeah.
Sorry, you might have to beat that.
Yeah, we can do
Remember
that.
to do the bloody ties up
Yeah.
kind of thing, and like, how come you can't remember that? No, remember the things that they have done that's well, point that out. Everyone is trying to do the best they can just with the tools they've got in their head or
Of
the
course they
tools
are.
that they're using, and then offer to help out on things that may not have worked out as well as you'd like them to. Like, let's work on this together to improve that. So that way
Yeah.
you keep the team motivated. I don't know if you have that with your photographers, but I think that's really important to have.
And finding out their sticking points as well, like you
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
finding out
listen to them.
what's the barrier or a difficulty for them, you or I may take completely for granted.
Yeah,
And I think I've never looked when you said that, I've never really looked at it that when someone comes out on their first day of training and we're in full flow, that we're 20, 30, 40, take your pick of how many years down the road of making them mistakes. If they'd have come out on my first day, it was a very different story.
yeah,
So, and one thing that I've always found when I've got new people with me is that I'm really, really consciously trying to explain everything that I'm doing because subconsciously, same as driving, we do so much as that line walks in, so much scanning, so much reviewing, so much questioning, thinking, uniforms, hair. speak to the teacher. How much support have I got from her? Is she on a 5-minute break, or is she really engaged, and can I give her something to do? But unless we're explaining that to the people that are with us at the time, they're not necessarily going to subconsciously pick up on that. And we can't blame them for not picking up on that because we've not set it up and educated them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yeah, you're absolutely right that training of staff isn't just here's your settings.
The tools and the technical side is, we all know, is really important as well. But there's also like the empathetic side of like helping a photographer to go in and feel good about what he's doing. Because when you first start off as well, it's nerve-wracking. I remember you probably remember your first wedding, or I remember my first wedding.
Yeah.
You know, it's absolutely nerve-wracking. The first speech you do, like as a speaker at a conference, like armpits are like drenched. Mine are anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and then you build up a resilience to it, and you get better and better and better. But in order to get to that, you have to start from one. So you're shit at the beginning, possibly, but you have to always remember that in order to get good, you have to start off somewhere. And just do it.
I'll never forget the first time that I realised I could do it. It wasn't a wedding; it was actually a school, and I crashed my car on the way there because I was so nervous, pulling out of my road, crashed my car into the back of another car. And I was early 20s, I reckon. And it was an all-girls school. There was 1,200 girls at an all-girls grammar school in Kent, in England. And it was a whole school picture. Massive. Yeah, whole school picture. 10 by 8 camera. So everything's backwards and upside down. 10 by 8 camera. It was the first one that I was doing on my own. And this was probably nearly 20 years ago. But all I could think of was them sixth form girls. I was early 20s. They were 18, 19. I'm like, I would never talk to them if I was in a bar. I was quiet, much more shy. I would never try and talk to them if I was in a bar. But I've got to stand in front of them and explain what we need to do while they're all standing on staging and scared and nervous and afraid. And you kind of have a moment where you just have to get out of your own way and go, right, you know what you've got to do. You know what you've got to say. But coming off of that, when the last one stepped down off of that staging, it was just like something in me went, yes, fine. Everything will be fine. And it was a real moment on that field in Kent of going, I was petrified. And I could have quite happily gone, can't come today, just crash the car, not playing.
Feel the fear and do it anyway. And I bet you felt amazing afterwards.
100%. Yeah. And that does then stem everything else off the back of it since then, of going, yes, we can do it. We can have a go.
So it's good to us to remember, like, new photographers that come in, you know. I remember the first wedding I did was with straight in at the deep end with a medium format camera. I didn't really even know how to load the frigging film up. I'd had like one interview with this cowboy guy in North Camp that had shown me, yeah, you can do this. When it was a military wedding with 500. Okay. I had basically no idea. I mean, it's a massive learning as well for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely crapping myself. And I remember my father giving me some homeopathic drops to help you relax. Anyway, so I had them in me.
A joint to drive.
Just before the door opened, it was like the moment when I had to go in and start taking the photographs. Oh my God. I just got the bottle. I just drank the whole bottle.
Get it in. Yeah, get it in. And hope
it was like 4 drops and it all went in. It was like, sorry, this has just got to, I have to do something. And I went in and I did the wedding. And thankfully it went okay. And then after that initial, like, you know, that feeling that your adrenaline, it's almost like paralyzed. God, I can't do this. With the, like, your monkey mind saying, no, just go home.
Stomach's going.
Don't do it. Yeah, the stomach's going. But after that, the feeling of satisfaction was intense, like, well done. And so it's really good it's a really good point to remember, you know, there are so many things that prevent us from success. And the biggest thing that prevents us from success is fear. And we need to face our fear and do it anyway, because if we can jump out of leave our comfort zone behind and go with what we know is the right decision anyway, that for me is a great path to success. Like, you always come up with for example, if I just wait until this happens and that happens and that happens, then I can go into school photography. Procrastination.
The perfect time.
No, just do it. That is just your monkey mind in my head just trying to prevent you from doing what is going to give you success and keeping you where it feels safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you
And I
never
think that
grow.
when you've done that a few times, and we've got the beauty of age on our side, but when you've done that a few times, you've evidenced the little wins. It was something about it this morning on LinkedIn. But when you've evidenced to yourself them small wins and that giving it a go more often than not doesn't fail. But even if it does fail, it doesn't kill you, it doesn't ruin you. Um, that that's a lesson that I'd love to be able to get across to youngsters. Just going,
Yeah. Yeah.
just try. You'll be so surprised about how good it could be.
Yeah. And just because you failed does not ever mean that you are a failure. It just means that there's a mistake that's happened, and what opportunity is in that? Well, hell, I mean, I've made so many mistakes, but everyone now, I try to think, how can I learn from that?
Yeah, yeah,
There's always not crisis and opportunity. Well, there is that. There's always the opposite. There's always opportunity in crisis.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely right. 100% right. Um, so yeah. So with regards to you do some public speaking stuff as well, don't you? Is that right?
Yeah, recently, I mean, the last couple of years,
Talk me through that.
we've done a conference in Australia.
Okay.
There's a guy, HVP Solutions, Glenn, who went out to Australia. I presume I don't know if I can name, I
Yeah,
don't
please
know.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, let's name check everyone.
Um,
Give them
like
the
nine
opportunity to
nine
come on.
years ago, he went out. The Australian market was very cash based as well. He's just such a really great guy. He's got a incredibly good growth like mindset. He's just a lovely man, honest, communicative, um,
Yeah, love it.
and he's done a brilliant job out there. So he has offered really good tools, like uses a NetLife platform out there.
Okay.
He's offered it over to other photographers, and it's doing a great work. So the market is transforming in Australia, and a lot of that is down to the massive support from NetLife and also Glenn
Yeah.
providing tools. That work. So that's one of the conferences we did. 2 years ago, we went to what was Stanley Baker Studios, and we did a conference there.
Yeah.
I've done one in Spanish. God, that was horrible. In my language, last year in Barcelona, I mean, it was crap. It was like my first ever conference I've done in another language, and here I'm speaking natural English, and I can
Okay.
smile, and I feel really comfortable. In Spain, it was nerve wracking. It's
Bet it
like
was. Yeah.
yeah, it was hard. So I've done it anyway, and that was one of my when I spoke to Harry about it. Like, it's going to be shit, but when I do my
Yeah.
100th one in Spanish, it will be a lot better. And I'm not going to get to do that 100th one unless I do the shit one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not the
Absolutely right.
mindset, but anyway, I did that, and we've just done the one in England. And for anyone that is interested, we will be in South Africa, end of March, beginning of April, in Johannesburg and Cape Town. Where the South African market is another market. It's really interesting. That's also changing to online, and that's another growth market there. Where Spain
Right.
and Portugal, Germany's still not completely online. I mean,
No.
Germany.
No. No.
Someone
Yeah.
was
Germany
telling
are
me
getting
they
there,
still
but
have
they
fax machines.
really.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Some German can
Never
come
knew.
on and deny that, please, if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. If there's
Someone
anyone
that
in
works
Germany,
over there.
come get involved. Drop us an
Yeah.
email. We'd love to
So
see
yeah,
you.
the South African conference is the next one, and the aim and the motive is to help others to grow, to
Yeah.
share ideas, to be open, to connect with each other. We're all human. To not be fear-based in how we operate our business, to not have closed mindsets, to not close doors, but in sharing ideas, we can all grow together in in affording tools that are available uh, here and now. People can learn and get better, and the whole industry can improve. So that's
Yeah.
our mission, and this
And
is why
it's a great opportunity, I think, at the moment where things can be. You can embrace the technologies at a very entry level, at a very low starter level. No one's expecting you to be an expert in AI, augmentation, or any of that business. There are so many options out there.
you mentioned AI yesterday. AI I use it in everything. I'm all the time on AI. like I see AI. Imagine a big company. You're a director of a company. You've got a secretary or so whoever's working in the office. You're dictating to them what you want them to write to blah blah
Yeah.
blah. You're doing that dictating to your phone to ChatGPT,
Yeah.
and it comes
100%.
up with it for you. Like
Yeah.
Harry was saying about for emails, it's just one thing as well. You said you have your day on emails where people get triggered, and they're like, "Can we have one day where we just write what we think?" Because
Just tell them what we think.
yeah. Well, one thing that I always try to remember in that, whatever they are expressing to you in an email, we don't know what kind of shit they or what tools or
100%.
what mindset they've got. And quite often it's not about you. It's whatever shit is going on in their own world.
Yeah.
So it's okay to react, but it's better to think and respond in an
Yeah.
appropriate manner.
100%. 100%. Yeah. The amount.
AI is brilliant for that. So you receive an email, you prompt it into AI. How can I reply to this in a non-emotive, in a professional way? Or you can even ask AI how to prompt. Like,
Yeah.
there's another
Yeah.
thing
That's
I
a
want to
brilliant
share
way
as
to do
well.
it.
So anyway, just you get AI to reply for you. So it takes out all the emotion and how your triggeredness that you might have from reading it, and you get a brilliant reply. And I've done that many times. And
Mm.
then I'll get a reply back. It's almost like it's another person that's written back to you with
Yeah.
gratefulness, with
Just diffuses it.
diffused it and gone. And then you'll realize that yourself in that moment, you were triggered yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
by reacting, you're not actually helping the situation at all. We're human and it's how we are. But AI can be so good in like taking the emotive aspect out of it because you're running a business and it's
Yes. Very
okay to
much.
react with like we all have
Yep.
that kind of stuff. However, there are tools that can help with that as well.
I also
You're
find that
coming back to the line.
when those emails come in, so quite often if they are they're really not happy. I mean, it's rare, very rare, but if and when they come in and they're really not happy, as soon as I pick the phone up to them and say, "Hey, it's Lee from Happy Days. I just really want to dig into where the situation was. Apologies, you're not happy first, but can you just explain it to me?" That person is a very different person that typed the email out,
Yeah, yeah.
without question, because you've got the tonality of the explanation. They understand that it's a real person, because no one, you probably see a similar thing. Nobody at the other end of the line sees it that we are people running a business. They see every
Yeah.
business that they have to email as a Tesco's, as a Amazon. I'm not happy with this. It's going to a call center. I'm going to shout and scream about it. As soon as you speak to them on the phone, as soon as you can say, "Listen, I hear you. Explain to me. We'll resolve it." It's never going to be that big a problem in what we're doing. Um,
There,
so yeah,
there are tools out there as well, not just with AI, for example. The software that I use, for example, and my photographers, like I've had a child come in crying and wouldn't have the photograph taken. Went to the end of the line, and the teacher at the end said to me, "This this child, I think we can get her photograph. Let's wait until all of them are done." And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." Everyone left. There's some children that don't want to be with other
yeah,
people. So the room was empty, the hall was empty. We went over, we had a chat with them. She decided she would have a photograph taken, came out, sat down, had tears all in her eyes, had been
right,
crying, but we got her smiling. And I was so delighted for her because I said to her, "Do you know what? You've been so brave because I know you were terrified to have this done, but you've done it. And I know now that you're going to be feeling such a sense of satisfaction. Well done. High five. Off you go." She
yeah,
went off so happy. That same day, I had that parent phoning the school, writing an email, putting Google reviews on the company. "I'm disgusted. We've got a
oh,
photographer that made my child cry.
oh
How
no,
can a photographer come in and make my child cry?" The software we've
oh,
got, comment. I wrote everything down about what happened. So when they
okay,
phone through to customer service and the school gets in contact, we went to the child and someone else had the story, the facts of what that could happen.
yeah,
Empathy for the mum. Yeah, I understand how you might
I've
like
seen that.
have that narrative because she didn't know the story. And so when
No,
people don't know the story, we are storytellers. Our mind will invent it. So her story without knowing the facts went to, frigging photographers making my kids cry. Not
Yeah,
true. Empathize with that, but really, this is actually what happened, and we were so happy with your child. Ended up with a huge apology. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that would happen, but that was also down to the software, the toolkit that had
yeah,
that info on that child on the software, because I shoot tethered, to relay that to the parents and the school, because you can lose schools over that.
very much
So
so. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And
like how to have
teachers
good
aren't
tools.
there. Teachers aren't there to defend us. They're busy. They've got all sorts going on, and this is a tiny, tiny snapshot in their day and their week. Is us being in the room. To us, it's everything. You know,
Yeah,
we are so focused on it. But to everybody else that we engage with, teachers and staff, it's just a little bit of an inconvenience in their day.
yeah. Well,
So
unless you're
they won't
pulling
always
water over your
remember it.
head.
Well, this is true. Yeah, get the teachers involved.
Oh, I have.
Yeah, good.
I've had a
Go on.
whole class actually pouring a whole like 2 liters of water all over me at the end. It was a prize for the end. The best class got to come out again, and they all came out of water. I knelt down, and they all just poured it all
Just
over
get
me.
it on.
They loved
It's like
it.
being baptized.
Yeah, it was good.
With regards to your classes, you said that you do like, a big hug shot. So we do a traditional one, and then we do a fun picture where they can sort of
Yeah,
pose or lean their friends,
yeah,
and we try and avoid hand gestures, that sort of thing.
yeah.
Do you offer both of those to the parents to sell?
I do. Yeah, I have them
Yeah,
both online. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really good thing to have because it's an upsell as well. Quite often, I'll have parents that buy both, and ones that might not like the traditional one love the ones where you've got your buddy with
yeah,
your arms around, and it's like this is my mate, and and
yeah.
and that may be the one that sell. And I don't, probably you as well, but I get really good feedback from that. So yeah, they're
Yeah.
both available online to choose.
We
Yeah,
use that, and when I'm training photographers, we use that really good as a real good, not a bribe, but a real good incentive for them to get the normal one. In that we'll say, listen, if we get a really lovely picture of everyone looking and smiling, we'll get you a funny one after. Who wants to do a funny one?
yeah,
And they all go off. And
it's true.
so then you're sort of almost bargaining back with them to when they're all looking, right, guys, can you remember we want to do the fun one, don't we? Yep, let's go. And we'll go through that process. And, some it doesn't work for, but the majority of children all want something at the end. So actually to try and engage them in we'll do this and we'll do that. We've got a
It's
couple of schools that refuse to let us do the fun one. They're like, that's not
Yeah,
what we do.
me too. However, you're right. It's a really good tip for other photographers because ours do that as well. They mention that this is especially with the 14, 15-year-olds, the
Yeah.
testosterone based, like I'm a man and I know everything now kind of
Bigger
thing.
than
And
you.
they're there and they just want to play around. You just like, I'm sure you can zone in on the one or the ones that are just going to,
Yeah.
he's going to do something.
Yeah.
So when you offer that, like you can have your fun shot, but we're doing the formal one first.
Play the game with me. I'm here to do a job.
That so
I've got you
works.
back.
It's a
Yeah.
really good tip. Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
totally.
so yeah, getting those done is all good. So what's the future look like for you, Andy? What are your goals? What are you looking to do in the future?
Build an empire in Spain,
Like it?
help others to grow. I really look forward to seeing the market transform to online, not just in Spain, but in Portugal. We're working with a big lab in Portugal that is creating a school photography company.
Okay.
Um, they're a really big lab and they see the vision as well, and they want to transform Portugal and
Brilliant.
take that
And is it
online
as
as well.
competitive in Spain
Oh
and
yeah,
Portugal?
yeah. It's very fragmented. Of course, it's
Okay.
competitive. The world is. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. But every school has a photographer. That is still a thing, is it, over there as well? Yeah.
Yes. However, it's more private and they're called concertados. They're like
Okay.
semi-funded by the government, but there are an awful lot of private and semi-private schools. The publics, you say public schools in Spanish, públicos, state schools,
Okay.
not public, English public, like state schools in Spain, generally don't have photography. They
Okay.
have what they called ordelas, which are like the end of year American like yearbooks where you have the composites. That's
I
very
get it.
big. That's very, very big. And they do that in all schools. And that would be something really interesting to change as well, to get like Christmas photographs going up in all schools, in public schools.
Yeah.
However, they don't have uniform. When I say
Right.
public, I mean state schools.
Yeah. 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 I understand. Not paid for. Parents not paying.
And going online, who knows? That could be a good way of possibly entering because there's no obligation. There's no, I mean, printing out all those packs. Think about all the waste that you have.
Yeah.
Did you say? I mean, my father used to build bonfires, burning photographs, all that
Yeah, just
chemical.
get rid of it. Yeah.
There's so much waste in photography. Like online gets rid of that, and then you've got the cash. You've got children going to school with cash.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, just bags of
It doesn't
cash.
feel right anymore.
No,
No.
you wouldn't.
That's,
I mean, look at the UK and looking at the news, especially the last couple of days at the news and everything else, things going on in schools. I could not imagine sending my 8-year-old kid to school with 30 quid in her bag.
I know.
Just wouldn't. Just wouldn't. I mean, 10-year-olds walk around with £1,000 phones, but
So where's
even
the
so,
opportunity in the UK market?
well, I
Sports?
think there's a bit of sports. I mean, the American sports stuff looks great, although, so we have a real good result with cup finals, football cup finals, football, soccer, wherever we are. Not so much the normal, just the club pitches, but what we'll do is we'll go to the cup finals for a certain league, and they might have 35 finals over the course of 3 or 4 weekends. We'll do portraits and a team picture before the game kicks off, and we'll extract the background. They'll be uploaded onto one of the fancy layouts of a stadium, a coloured mount, like a border around the picture that matches their team colour, and we print them all off before half time. So we then
Oh,
sell them at
great.
half time to all the parents, and we sell 95, 96% of what we do.
Speculation sells. They
Yeah,
sell.
but there's
It's
a
the
reason
visual.
for it. Yeah, there's a
Tell me.
reason for it. They're at
Tell
the
us.
final. It says finalist on the
Yeah.
picture. No one's won or lost. We do it by half time, so there hasn't been a team that's lost because we lose 50% of the market that way. So that spinning it
Mhm.
around, spitting it out on the printer, got them all laid out on the table. A little bit cheeky with the sales side of it. Who doesn't love their kid? And can you make sure you give this one to
Exactly.
show your friends? Like that, that atmosphere and that event allows for that little level of. You're with football parents, there can be that level of banter there, and you can take the mickey out of them and push the sales a bit harder. Not in a rude way, but do you understand? I mean, I can have a joke with a dad and say, look, there's 4 left. Who doesn't love them? Go and give them a kick. And they'll
We
inevitably come over.
There's a couple of things there. First of all, with the sports, you're absolutely right in that when you mentioned the hero, I mean, it's when I went into SPAC a few years ago, sports photography is massive out there.
Yeah,
And so a kid that goes home with a school photograph, here's the photos in the
yeah,
drawer, that goes home with like a big poster, Mum, Dad, look at this. And they're like heroes
yeah,
in their photograph.
yeah.
They want it. They're pressurizing their parents to buy it. I mean, it's great. It's a bit like what you were talking about there. I think that's a really good.
I think that's the goal for me. That I'd love for us to be in a position, and we always hear people say, "I don't like my own picture. I hate having my picture done." Staff come in, every member of staff, "I hate having my picture done. I don't like it," and that inevitably, subliminally goes into the kids that are in earshot of going, "Well, she doesn't like it done, and I really look up to
Point.
her, so I don't like it done." Now, wouldn't the massive win be if we could get kids to be proud of their own pictures being on the walls in the same way that they want a Lionel Messi picture or a Ronaldo picture
Yeah.
or Sabrina
Now,
Carpenter picture up on
how
the
could you
wall?
do that in school photography? That would
I
be
don't know yet,
brilliant. Like,
but
is
I
there a
haven't got the
way of
answer
doing
to it.
that? Yeah.
There must be
There's
a way, mustn't there?
Yeah, there is some marvelous quality coming out there. I was seeing on LinkedIn recently with some of the people at the conference, some of their imagery they put out is beautiful. I mean, the way
Yeah,
they light it is gorgeous. Really, 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 really beautiful.
yeah. I mean, with the background changes, I saw someone mention something recently online saying, we always ask parents what backgrounds they want. Has anyone ever asked the kids? Have we ever done a survey for the kids about what background they want? I haven't.
Do you know what I saw the other day as well? I don't know how well this will go down, but in the States, I saw that they are also selling digitally an avatar of their
Okay,
image as a
okay,
digital image.
makes sense. I mean, they create it on their phones, don't they? The
Yeah.
kids,
So you have their
my
school
kid will create.
photographs and then you have their avatar. It's all
Yeah,
AI produced, but maybe there's some software that could be introduced. Is that it's just
yeah.
thought just popped
I
into
think
my
there's
head.
so many things, aren't there, now that we can look at and go, "That's amazing. I love that. That's brilliant." And if we run too far down the road with it, and that's not the one, we're doing the whole paralysis by analysis thing of saying, well, what is the best one? We've done none of it. Stand on the benches,
Yeah.
smile. There's your group.
You mentioned yesterday about on the podcast, like anyone can with a mobile phone can take their photograph, but the belief is that school photography will remain, and I believe so too. And I think it for me it goes down to the feeling. Like I could have my
Yes.
kid put her up against that white wall, take a picture, Photoshop, white background, done, lovely job. However, and I got my print. I look at
Yeah.
it, and then I get a school photograph that comes, and it's the feeling. This was taken. It's just the way our brains work. This was
Yeah.
taken at a school. It's a tradition. It was done on that day. It was an event, like a sports day. It's a photo day. That's
Yeah.
the one you want because it feels like the photograph. They can both
I
look
think for
exactly
me
the
as a
same.
parent,
How minds
so
work.
I'm a chair of governors at my kids' primary school, so I go in there quite a lot and get to see them doing what they're doing and see the kids
Oh,
doing
that's
it.
great.
But for parents that don't see that, I think our photographs that we take are a representation of how the child was that day at school. And
Mm.
as parents, all we ever want is to know that our kids are smiling and happy at school, isn't it?
Mm.
Like, I'm sending them out of my care. Are they having a good day? Are they happy? Is everything okay?
Mm.
And if they get a smiley picture back, just for that moment, the parent is guaranteed that that child was their authentic self and smiley and happy. And
The
at that, I
memories.
think that emotion plays a bit into them going, yeah, we're going to get it. Obviously, there's the ones that buy it just because they feel they should, but um, but yeah, if we can somehow turn the kids into their own hero,
Yeah.
I mean, we're going full big thinking with that side of things, but if we can get kids proud of themselves, that has a big ripple effect going out. And I don't know if that starts with somehow making the teachers more confident in having staff photographs taken. Do we look to
Interesting
start?
idea. I've never thought about this.
Do we look to start doing a
Lead by example.
real, yeah, doing a real proper, nice, fun photo shoot for the staff where they can get real high end studios type quality pictures. We could do it on an inset day. We could do it after school one day, but the staff really get to embrace and enjoy it because we all know that when everyone has a really positive photo shoot, they come out of it feeling good. You know, they're on top of the world. They feel good. They can see that they look good. They see themselves almost through a lens rather than through the mirror and with all insecurities. If we
Mm.
could get staff involved in that, then that naturally starts feeding down.
I love the idea. I'd love to see how that evolves, if it
I don't know how
evolves.
that looks yet, but that's one of the things that we've sort of been considering in saying, well, every staff
Interesting.
every staff member that we photograph says, I hate having my picture done
I mean,
across the
what
board.
what I offer when we do the staff is that they can all, because they can access, because it's all account based, they can access their staff photograph, and we offer them for free as a digital download. So they can just
Okay.
go on full high res version, download, use it for LinkedIn profiles, whatever. So it's
Yeah.
quite important for them that they have a good portrait
Something's good.
photograph done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. I'm just trying to make the connection to how that could benefit kids leading by example. And then you've still got kids though that it's like they like how they feel about themselves inside. How do they come through? So interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that that's an answer. I don't know that there is an
Yeah.
answer, but I think that there is, and we might not be able to make it right for everyone. It might not be for everyone, but for if we can, if there are kids that are on that limit of going, I do want it done, but I'm not confident, and I wish I know that mum will be proud of me. If we can make it easier for them, then there's the little win. And I think it sort of ripples its way out
I,
going
I,
forward.
I and I think it's really would be great for us to make school photography like a good experience for all schools. And I'll share that there was one boy, and it's one of my favourite memories of school photography. Um, is that there was one boy that would never go into school,
Okay.
and it was school photo day, and his mum was trying to get him into school again. It was really complicated for her, and she said, "Come on, it's school photo day." And the boy said, "School photo day," and she said, "Is Mr. Potato Head going?" He said,
Love
yeah,
that.
Mr. Potato Head's going to be in there for photographs. And that day, first day in 2 weeks, he came in to have his photographs
Wow.
taken because he knew Mr. Potato Head was going. And that's
That's
just
everything, isn't it?
That's beautiful. But that was because he had a good experience about what school photography was
Yeah.
and he remembered it. And I loved the idea of making school photography an experience for kids where they enjoy it, and that's
Mm.
great for everyone, not like how it used to be with all the admin, like chaos, the noise levels, the stress of parents,
Yeah.
it can be done differently and better.
We've often had, we not often, but a few times, we've had a secretary say to us at the end of the day, I didn't sleep last night because I knew that this was happening and it's
Right.
just been stressing me out. And to be able to get to the point where you've got to there, where a youngster's going, that's the reason, that's my reason today, that is priceless. That's worth more than any 30,
Yeah.
40 quid order.
I mean, I'll share.
That
I'll go
is,
into it. Yeah, I'll go into a school and I'll have in the playground, Mr. Potato Head. But now I've got Mr. Waterhead. He'll go into a school and they're saying, Mr. Waterhead, are you pouring water
yeah,
over your head today? So they remember. It's not what you do. It's not what you say. It's how you make people feel that you're
yeah,
remembered for. I don't know who made that quote, but it's a really good thing to realize as like it's easy enough as a one man band, but when you start growing and then you have photographers or you're a big company, it's challenging as well. But it's so great to have like the experience.
yeah, yeah.
That
I
makes
fully
sense.
agree. Fully agree. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I'm sure that lots of people listening will resonate with that and say, actually, hopefully, I mean, would love to hear what people say. Feel free to put some comments in. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, if you're working in the job, you've got to love it. What do you prefer to be looking at your watch like, got another hour left, or like having fun and going out and
Yeah,
thinking that was really good fun, I enjoyed it.
yeah,
It's
yeah. I love it.
mindset, it's attitude.
Really is, really is. So, Andy, how do people get in touch with you if they want to chat with you, want to learn with you a bit about your tricks? You LinkedIn and
Yeah, LinkedIn, Andy Molloy. I guess that's the best way. From the conference. I learned a lot from
Jeff.
Jeff Brown.
Yeah,
He's written 4 books on. One of them is about LinkedIn. He was just great.
yeah.
So I've started using LinkedIn a lot. That's probably a good way to get in contact with me. Andy Molloy. A lot of it's in Spanish, but I think it's got auto translate LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's got Translate. I managed to find a few bits out earlier by using the joy of Google and AI. And very briefly before we finish, talking about AI and the use of ChatGPT. So for this podcast, for exactly this, I can download a transcript of everything that we've just said. And I'm not ashamed to say that will go into ChatGPT to be summarized, to be give
Brilliant.
us a summary, give us the key points, give us some key highlights, um, and then we can then customize that off the back of it. But so much of the work is done by using the technology and getting the information in, and then being able to share accurately what we've spoke about.
In order to improve in life, it's brilliant. I have always looked to work and connect up with people that are better than me because I
100%.
can't learn. I don't want to be better than anyone else. I want to be with
Yep.
people that are 10 times better than me. And
Yeah.
then I learn. AI is a tool that can do something so good and it's just so efficient. It's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. Really is. We're actually been looking at, well, before this came up, we was looking at creating a podcast about AI in schools and the impact it has, where we'll speak to AI providers,
Really
we'll speak
interesting.
to teachers, speak to school leaders. That was previously where we were going to look, but then last week just screamed out saying that these conversations for other people to hear and resonate with are so much closer to home at the moment, um, that that's what we're doing.
There's enormous change coming with AI. Enormous.
Yeah. So, Andy, thank you so much. We are nearly an hour and a half in. That was it went really
Thank you.
quick. So, just like to
Thank you for
say
having me.
thanks so much for being on the podcast, and we look forward to catching up with you soon. All the best with your business.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Andy. And that's a wrap on today's episode. A huge thanks to Andy Molloy, all the way from Spain, for sharing his incredible journey and insights into the evolving world of school photography. From the early days of colour prints to revolutionising online ordering in Spain. Andy's experience shows just how much this industry has changed and where it's heading next. I've absolutely loved hearing your stories about your hilarious classroom tricks Who knew that pouring water over your own head could be so effective? And his passion for helping photographers embrace AI, automation, and smarter workflows. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, share it with a fellow photographer. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you on the next episode, next time on the School Photo Podcast. Happy days.